my lord? After waiting for a long time, Yi Xian showed hesitation and yelled anxiously. Click. A soft sound came from the white jade crystal coffin, and immediately, a terrifying coercion centered on the white jade crystal coffin, spreading around like a huge wave. At the beginning, the pressure was not too strong. But in the blink of an eye, it reached the point that even Yi Xian couldn't bear it. She couldn't help but kneel softly and fell directly to the ground. Even lifting the head became a luxury. Emperor prestige is recovering. At the same time, in the place where Qiantong was trapped, the battle between Yongkai, Shan Qingluo and the many cultivators of the constant gathering Chamber of Commerce continued. Strictly speaking, the strength of the 6 or 7 void return stages of the constant gathering Chamber of Commerce is indeed not weak, and the artifacts they own are also unpredictable. They are even more familiar with each other, and they can exert extraordinary combat effectiveness when they cooperate. But Yongkai and Shan Qingluo are not vulgar. One regards higher realm combat as normal things, and there are many external forces that can be used, and the other has swallowed the original power of the heavenly moon demon spider by chance. Therefore, even if the constant gathering Chamber of Commerce has an advantage in the number of people, it cannot compare Yongkai and Shan Qingluo. At the beginning, they were afraid of hurting Yongkai and Shan Qingluo, and they were merciful everywhere, but they found something is wrong when fighting them. If they really kept their hands like this, they might be defeated. So they all went all out, but they didn't get any benefits. The entire palace was in a mess. The light of various martial arts and artifacts bloomed, dazzling, and the energy between the heavens and the earth was disrupted, and even the steel containing the way of item refining was not spared. Although Yongkai tried to avoid the area where it was during the battle, others didn't know that. At this moment, the stone tablet had cracks and staggered, as if it would break at any time. This made Yongkai feel very sorry. In any case, the craftsmanship contained in this stele is extensive and profound, and it is considered a treasure. The matter was over, and Yongkai was helpless. Yongkai, it's not too late for you to return to this young master, otherwise this young master will definitely make you regret it forever. Xueyue saw that they're stuck in the situation, can't help but cry out. In your dream. Yongkai laughed, and refused without thinking. It's you who forced me. Xueyue's silver teeth clenched, cruel, her hands quickly knotted like butterflies through flowers, and as her movements changed, the nearby world's spiritual energy also flowed. The faces of the 3 bearded old man and beautiful woman who were fighting Yongkai and Shan Qingluo changed greatly. They looked at each other in amazement, as if they knew what secret technique Xueyue was going to use. They all shook their heads and distanced themselves from their opponents. When they looked at Yongkai and Shan Qingluo, a look of gloating appeared on their faces. Yongkai's expression also became solemn, although he knew that Xueyue was already angry. The methods to be used are definitely not trivial, but now that people are stuck here, it is impossible to run, only resist. He didn't believe that Xueyue could really display the magical ability to kill him in one fell swoop. What's more, there is no murderous intent in this woman's eyes, she clearly just wants him to suffer a bit. During the change of thoughts, Yongkai was ready to defend. At this moment, Xueyue let out a low shout, and a spiritual energy of the surrounding world rushed into her body frantically. At the next moment, a strange-looking monster beast image suddenly appeared above her head. The monster beast's body was covered with thick dark hair, its eyes were bright and energetic, and its forehead had a single horn, and it looked powerful. Yang Kai's eyes narrowed. Somehow, he actually felt a threat from this monster phantom. This feeling was the first time he had since he entered the Emperor Garden. But Shan Qingluo exclaimed, "Unicorn lion." She seems to recognize what this monster beast is, but it is no wonder since the Emperor Dragon Star she fell to is originally a monster star, and 90% of the creatures there are monster race. From what she heard and saw, there are few monsters in the world that she does not know of. You girl has good eyesight. How can you recognize this young master companion monster spirit? If you surrender now, this young master will let you go, and will only torture that bastard. As for you, Stay beside this young master as a maid. It's not indispensable for you to stay as this young master maid. Your appearance is good, and you barely deserve it. Xueyue still wants to persuade her to surrender, obviously also knows that her divine skills is so powerful that it cannot be released lest it hurt Yangkai and Shan Qingluo. Associated monster spirit. Shan Qingluo shrank her eyes, and then chuckled again. I really underestimated your constant gathering chamber of commerce. You can even get this kind of stuff, but so what? You want this palace master to be your maid. Don't speak big words. Yang Kai also frowned. Associated monster spirit. He had heard that after the blood of a powerful monster beast is taken and refined it into the body with secret techniques. After a long time, you could use all kinds of ability that powerful monster beast has. It also can be summoned out to oppose the enemy. This is also a kind of external force, but the general cultivator is not capable of doing this kind of thing. Even if they have the ability, they don't have the right monster beast blood essence. Because when cultivating this secret technique, its power depends on the level of the blood essence of the monster beast. Unicorn lion is a kind of ancient mythical beasts, and it is good at fighting by nature, especially the unicorn horn on the forehead, which is no less powerful than the Void King Great Artifact, or even worse. Its blood essence are definitely not bad, and watching Xueyue's posture, she must have been practicing this secret technique for many years. With the help of this associate monster spirit, even if she has the second-order Void Return Stage realm, in the Void Return Stage levels, she can also be regarded as invincible in the same level. No wonder she is emboldened when speaking. Don't know when she succeeded in cultivating this. When he was with her many years ago, Yangkai had never seen her perform this secret technique. Shan Qingluo's cynicism came into her ears, and Xueyue's face became cold. You really have to fight against this young master? Right? Shan Qingluo covered her mouth and winked her eyes. You little young master think of yourself too highly. It seems that this big sister has to teach you a lesson, lest you are too ignorant. The enchanting queen's tone of younger generation being reprimanded by their elders really made Xueyue gasp her lungs. When the two women were fighting, Yangkai couldn't even cut them out. He stood helplessly and watched indifferently. As for the other powerhouses of the constant gathering chamber of commerce, naturally they all had strange expressions. The third young master and an enchanting woman were fighting for the same man. If this news is spread, what would the public say? They even have a suicidal heart at this moment. Well, let this young master take a look. Who is not knowing how high the sky, and how thick the earth, and who is boasting shamelessly? Xueyue was annoyed, pointing her hand. The almost condensed unicorn lion phantom rushed and roared, rushing toward Shan Qingluo. Yangkai's expression sank, and he wanted to resist, but when Shan Qingluo's body swayed, she took a step forward. The next moment, a phantom of a huge octagonal spider emerged from behind her. Heavenly Moon Demon Spider. Without gathering the world's spiritual energy, without using any technique, the phantom appeared in everyone's vision so strangely. The whole body was silver, white and flawless, and there was a mark of a half-moon on the forehead of the spider. Although it looks terrifying and hideous, everyone who saw this spider at this moment did not have such an idea, but felt that this giant spider was extremely beautiful. This weird feeling makes everyone feel uncomfortable. The monster chi is soaring, and the world trembles. This is... Xueyue's face changed, staring blankly at the huge white spider, and she couldn't help but give birth to an unpleasant feeling. But now that the arrow has been sent flying from the bow, the haze phantom had already rushed towards Shan Qingluo. She couldn't even take it back. Go. Compared with this, Shan Qingluo was undoubtedly more calm. With a wave of her bare hand, the heavenly moon demon spider moved 8 paws and quickly greeted the illusory shadow. One is the ancient holy spirit, and the other is the ancient mythical beast species. Although the difference between the two is not small in terms of grades, they are not living creatures after all. The role that can be played depends on the means and ability of the caster. Say in terms of momentum, Hachi and Heaven Moon Demon Spider are basically the same. In the blink of an eye, the two figures collided together, one black and the other white, distinct and vague. One could hear the roar of beast and spider cry intertwined in the ears. After the black and white two colors collided, shocking energy fluctuations swept all around. Almost everyone has an unstable footing, everyone seems to have become a flatboat in the sea, can only drift with the flow. But Xianxia felt nothing. The aura emanating from the dragon bone verdant sword resisted the terrifying coercion from the center of the battle, and Xianxia was not affected at all. Visible to the naked eye, the black and white light clusters are shrinking at an extremely fast speed, which is obviously a huge consumption in the battle. In less than 10 breaths of effort, the two color light groups actually merged together, and the figures of Hachi and the heavenly moon demon spider were no longer visible. And the next moment, a terrifying explosion wave spread from there, and an aura that could almost destroy the world swayed away leisurely. Everyone's complexion changed drastically, and they offered their defensive treasures one after another to resist the bursting aftermath. One after another, the silhouettes were impacted and flew high, and then fell down, embarrassed. No one thought that this battle caused by Hachi and heavenly moon demon spider was so violent, and in the end it ended with the same end. Xueyue's face was pale, and Shan Qingluo was also breathing hard. Click. The sound of fragmentation came from the side. It was the stone stele containing the way of item refining. Finally, it could not withstand the repeated energy spread, and it burst open, and the broken stones splashed around. And in the gravel, there was something else vaguely mingled, lacing towards Xianxia's direction. And? Xianxia frowned, his eyes were quick and his hands were quick. He grabbed the thing, and then looked around. He was surprised to find that it was actually a stone tablet, 3 inches long and 1 finger thick, with 3 magnificent ancient text engraved on it. Xianxia glanced, unable to recognize what it was. To be continued. There was something else hidden in the stele containing the way of item refining, which surprised Xianxia. On the contrary, when the pale Xue Yue saw this thing, she suddenly showed a look of surprise, a pair of beautiful eyes staring at the stone tablet in Xianxia's hand, unmoving. Xianxia, give that thing to me. Xue Yue suddenly yelled at Xianxia. Why? Xianxia glanced at her and hurriedly put the stone tablet into the space ring. Although he don't know what is in the stone tablet, since it is so hidden, it must be a big deal. And Xue Yue should have some understanding of this, and even she could recognize those 3 ancient characters, otherwise she would not be so excited. Give it to me. Xue Yue was anxious. That thing is of no use to you. How did you know it was of no use to me? Xianxia looked indifferent. You give it to me first, and if we have the chance, I will explain it to you. Give that thing to me, and this young master will retreat, and will never find trouble with you and them again. Your grievance with me will be written off. Xueyue looked at Xianxia sincerely. Xianxia's expression changed, and his heart became more and more curious. What was it that could actually make Xueyue make such a concession? Although it was certain that the secrets contained in the stone tablets were great and extremely valuable, Xianxia would not suspect that Xueyue was deceiving him. She said it was useless to him, said it probably really useless. Although Xueyue is extremely possessive and has the means and ability, she is not a person who likes to lie, because she has a high self-esteem, and such a person disdains lie and will not deceive others. At this point, Xianxia still believed in his own judgment. In all fairness, it was not a loss to exchange for Xueyue's promise with a stone tablet that had no purpose. Seeing Xianxia's emotions, Xueyue hurriedly hit the railroad while it was hot. This young master said nothing wrong. You don't have to doubt anything, everyone here can testify. Can I ask what this thing is for? Xianxia tilted his head and looked at her. A trace of embarrassment appeared on Xueyue's face. After a long time, she lightly lifted her red lips and whispered quietly, I can't tell you exactly what it is for, but I can tell you that it is not only useless for you, but also useless for me. Yes. The cultivators and the entire Emperor Garden are also useless. Xianxia's eyes shrank. Although Xue Yue didn't say it directly, these words were already intriguing enough. Most of the cultivators who entered the Emperor Garden were void return stage, and many of them is third-order void return stage. The stone tablets were of no use to them, so there was only one explanation. Only the strong in the Void King realm can use the stone tablet. The value is really not small, no wonder Xue Yue would be willing to make such a promise. The value of things that can only be used by a Void King realm powerhouse is absolutely inestimable, but he have only been promoted to the Void Return stage, and it is still far away from the Void King realm. What's more, there are many treasures in his hand and a rich background. He may not be able to see the secret hidden in the stone tablet as of now. Thinking of this, Xianxia was already finished thinking about it. He raised his head and looked at Xueyue and said, "Can I believe your words?" "Yes." Xueyue looked solemnly. "Okay, I hope you do what you say." Xianxia nodded lightly, but as he was about to throw the stone card to Xueyue, at this moment, the abnormality suddenly appeared. Suddenly there was an abnormal energy fluctuation from all around, like an invisible ripple, sweeping the place where everyone was. This kind of energy fluctuation is very familiar to Xianxia, and the moment he noticed it, his face changed slightly. He rushed towards Shan Qingluo and yelled, "Qingluo!" The seductive queen hadn't realized what was going on. Seeing Xianxia rushing forward so eagerly, she couldn't help but smile and stretched out a jade hand towards him. The next moment, her face changed because she saw behind Xianxia suddenly appeared a palm formed by the world's spiritual energy. That palm should belong to a woman, because although it is huge, it gives people a delicate and beautiful appearance. It feels as if the flawless beauty has been magnified thousands of times. It caught Xianxia immediately. "No!" Shan Qingluo's face turned pale, and screamed out. The words fell, and the jade palm had already held Xianxia's body, and as the jade palm burst, Xianxia instantly disappeared before her eyes. Before she could figure out what was going on, there were screams from all directions. Looking around, Shan Qingluo couldn't help but stay still for a while, because at this moment, everyone encountered the same thing as Xianxia. The huge palm formed by the gathering of world's spiritual energy held everyone. Bursting, the power of the space went up and down, and one figure after another disappeared before her eyes. Shan Qingluo couldn't help but raised her head and looked up to the sky, and found that her situation was the same. When she returned to her sense, she suddenly realized that she had returned to Emperor Dragon's star. Somewhere in the shadowed star, Xianxia stood dazedly, staring down at his palm. At the fingertips, it seemed that Shan Qingluo's body temperature still remained, and the tip of his nose seemed to be still lingering with the enchantress body fragrance, making Xianxia a little dumbfounded. After a long time, he raised his head and sighed slightly. Although they was forced to separate again not long after they reunited, at least Shan Qingluo, this enchantress, is alive and well, which is enough. He don't know what happened in the Emperor Garden. The magical law of heaven and earth suddenly sent him out. Since he came out, everyone else must be the same. Thinking of this, Xianxia looked up and found that in the sky, the huge and majestic Emperor Garden was still in sight, as in the past, except that the teleportation jade platform that had appeared before disappeared. It is estimated that it would be impossible to enter the Emperor Garden again. Xianxia didn't know exactly what happened in the Emperor Garden, but it should be related to Yang Yan. She said before that the day the Emperor Garden was opened, it was because the awakening of the Great Emperor. Did the matter with her and Yixian goes well? If it goes well, then the Great Emperor's body should have woken up. Thinking of this, Xianxia's heart suddenly burst. His face suddenly seemed difficult to look. Yang Yan is a spirit clone of the Great Emperor. If the Great Emperor awakens, what will happen to her? He had never thought about such a thing before, and Yang Yan had never told him. But now, the more he thinks about it, the more he feels something is wrong, and the more he thinks about it, the more disturbed he is. No longer hesitating, Xianxia quickly released his spiritual mind, wanting to find out where he is now, and to find out the direction to Flowing Flame Sandfield. This investigation made Xianxia's expression even more ugly. he discovered that he was actually on a deserted island. The island was small, about a dozen or so miles away. The materials on the island were poor, there were no spiritual herbs, no traces of living people, and the surrounding area was poor. It is the blue sea. No way. Yongkai frowned. When people are unlucky, it keeps getting worse. Did he actually sent to the limitless ocean? It's been a few years since he came to Shadowed Star, knowing that Shadowed Star has a vast and boundless limitless sea. The Ghost Island, one of the 3 forbidden places, is in the Limitless Sea. It's a pity that no one has ever seen the Ghost Island. Everyone who have seen it are said to be already dead. The environment he's in now is very similar to the description he heard about the Limitless Sea before. If this is the case, it would be troublesome. After all, Flowing Flame Sandfield is far from the Limitless Sea. If he only rely on his own flight, he don't know how long it will take to fly back home. Of course, this is just a guess. He have to ask someone to find out where he is right now. At this point, Yongkai sacrificed the Star Shuttle and flew out of the deserted island like a whirlwind. On the Limitless Sea, 5 cultivators wearing uniform services are fighting around a huge octopus-like sea beast. The brilliance of artifacts and martial arts blooms, and the fight is vivid and colorful. The strength of the 5 people is not too high, only the cultivation realm of Saint stage. And the aura exuding from the octopus also only the 7th order peak. If it is changed to another place, the strength of the 5 people is enough to easily take down this sea beast, but in the sea beast has the advantage of the home court, and can easily fight with the abundant water attributes spiritual energy. A water arrow takes shape leisurely and overwhelms the world, hit the 5 people, which is also mixed with a group of dark green filthy things. And the long and thick tentacles of the sea beasts should not be underestimated. Every time they strike, the 5 people change countenance and evade in a hurry. Although the wounds on the sea beast grew more and more with the passage of time, the 5 of them were not lightly exhausted, and they were all panting for breath. After another incensed time, a scream suddenly came out. It was a woman in a green shirt among the 5. She and her fellow were just trying to kill this mysterious ink seal, but she didn't know what it was. At that time, the surrounding space was already covered by a thick mist. That was obviously the filthy air sprayed by the mysterious ink seal. This mist could not only hinder the penetration of divine consciousness, but also damage the aura of the artifact and the operation of Saint Qi and the cultivator. This woman had the lowest cultivation level and was the first to be affected. At the same time, she noticed that the Saint Qi was not working smoothly. A tentacle of the sea beast had already drawn towards her. The woman's face paled, the heart is telling to resist, but powerless. Seeing that the tentacles were getting closer and closer to her, she couldn't help but scream, thinking she was doomed this time. The other 4 people also changed countenance. They couldn't help in the face of this situation. But at this moment, a golden light suddenly came into view. The golden light looked very faint, but like the most dazzling sun, it dispelled the dark green mist that obscured the world. Accompanied by a sneer, the tentacles of the sea beast that made the 5 people helpless were cut off, splashing dark green blood. The sea beast's neighing sounded, and under the pain, its countless tentacles waved irregularly, like huge long whips, stirring up chaos in the nearby sea. The golden light reappeared, and with the sound of scuffing, all the tentacles of the mysterious ink seal were cut open, and under the action, it flew far away, and the green blood instantly overflowed the sea. To be continued.